Hey, whiskey is a fantastic thing, and I'm a big whiskey fan, but I've noticed that it's super easy to start making some of these small mistakes that turn you from a whiskey enjoyer to basically a whiskey snob. Cue the extremely sophisticated intro. Fucking hell, let's get this set up properly. Hey everyone, my name is Jacob and I'm the Regular Whiskey Dude. The Regular Whiskey Dude is a channel in which we enjoy whiskey, but we tend to be quite rational and level-headed about enjoying whiskey. So no custom tailored shirts, no fast cars, and no cigar pairings. Not that anything is wrong with these things, but we just want to focus on whiskey, for the whiskey, by whiskey lovers and enjoyers. So today we're gonna talk about 4 mistakes that people can make when starting with whiskey and getting into whiskey, which I think will hinder you rather than benefit you. So let's start off with number 1, do not spend a fortune. Well, this is quite an obvious statement, right? But it's super easy among whiskey aficionados and whiskey fans to start, allocating all of these bottles on a weekly or monthly basis. You buy one bottle, you kind of like it, but you want to have an additional one because you want to explore all of these varieties of different types of Scotch or Irish or bourbon, right? But what I've noticed that it's super easy to get caught up in that approach of, oh, I need to buy as many bottles as possible. And I guess to some extent it makes sense, right? Because if you want to expand your taste and, expand your palate, it makes sense to have a variety of different whiskeys at your availability, right? On one hand, it makes sense, but you don't want to end up in the kind of headspace of you needing to buy as many bottles as possible, right? And my advice for that is establish a budget. So a budget is fairly simple. You basically set up a monthly amount of money that you're willing to spend on whiskey. That's it. It really depends on your situation, whether you want to spend like 50, 100, 300, or even hell, like 500 bucks. That's completely fine. But what I've noticed is that it's the moment that you set up a budget, you kind of have that almost like a competition with yourself to actually meet it. And it really forces you to become a bit more rational about how much you're willing to spend on a whiskey. And for me, the moment that I started implementing a budget, it actually helped me to start shopping for discounts and bargains. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be cheap, but just being rational about whiskey, I think there's always money to be saved. And let's say you're buying a Glenfiddich 12 on a discount at your local store or like a Costco. At a 20% discount, everyone is still making money. Glenfiddich is making money, the distributor is making money, and Costco is making money. So if there's a bargain, you definitely should go for it. Number 2, do not pursue a fake lifestyle. A fake lifestyle is that kind of GQ-esque custom tailored shirts, cigars, fast cars, super expensive watches. Imagine James Bond from Quantum of Solace. I think it's more of like just a marketed lifestyle that all these magazines and watch manufacturers want to advertise to us in order to make us feel, especially amongst men, that there is some sort of, lifestyle that you should level up for. I'm all for, self-development and being the best version of you. But at the same time, I'm very against that idea that you need to be super suited up and drive a super fast car and, be extremely sophisticated just in order to enjoy whiskey. So my advice to that, well, there's not a lot to be given as advice. Like, do not pursue that fake lifestyle. Just be who you are and enjoy whiskey. Whiskey, which I believe should be a spirit to be enjoyed by all people of different backgrounds and walks of life. And number 3, do not chase the hype. What I mean by that is, especially when you're a beginner in whiskey, it's easy to get kind of drawn into luxuriousness of some of the whiskey brands. Say Macallan, Pappy Van Winkle, Blanton's, Glenmorangie, or Johnny Walker Blue Label. All these whiskeys that are associated with some sort of status and they have a almost like established quality to them in terms of tasting experience, but also how the bottle looks and how the whiskey overall is presented. And make no mistake, these are great Scotch whiskeys and bourbons. I did actually run a blind test between Macallan 12 sherry cask and Glendronach 12. And there was a difference for Macallan as an upside, but it was such a tiny difference that I would never actually pay 50% more for the Macallan, right? But just let me be clear, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should limit yourself in buying these whiskeys or enjoying them or pursuing them. Like, it's completely fine. I actually urge you to be slightly more mindful and ask yourself, do I want to buy this bottle because I'm interested in exploring that whiskey? Or I'm kind of wanting to buy that bottle because it would be cool to have one, you know, showcasing friends and being the guy that owns a Macallan or a Johnny Walker Blue Label. Do not pursue that hype just for the sole fact of hype. Be interested in whiskey for the whiskey. And number 4 is do not become a whiskey prick. And by what I mean a whiskey prick is a person that is still a beginner, but they've kind of progressed through multiple different whiskeys, and they probably purchased their first, second, or third single malt whiskey. That approach is very prevalent amongst fans of single malt whiskey, mainly due to the fact that single malt whiskey tends to have a slight sense of sophistication because you don't necessarily want to mix single malt whiskey in cocktails, or it's always usually better to drink single malt whiskey neat rather than on the rocks or as mixers. But then again, you should not feel that you're superior to someone else because you're drinking a slightly more expensive whiskey. Do not look down upon people who drink, you know, Grant's Special Reserve or Johnny Walker Red or Blanton's Finest. You probably started off with that sort of whiskey, so don't be a hypocrite. Okay guys, so that's it for today, and these were the 4 things to avoid when discovering the world of whiskey to ensure that you'll be, you know, enjoying whiskey for the right reasons. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like. Feel free to let me know in the comments if you had a similar experience of any of these 4 approaches that might not be the best for enjoying whiskey the proper way. If you would want to help with supporting the channel, then go to the description. There are various ways to do so. We'll hugely appreciate that so that one day I can, I don't know, have a gazillion of subscribers. Probably not gonna happen. Yeah, I would want to grow this channel to offer more and more experiences of whiskey in the proper way. And also, it would be good to not rely on day jobs and that sort of stuff and not having to, you know, edit videos at night. Okay, and lastly, I'll be having a drink of Singleton 12, which I've mentioned in the video. Question, would you want to see a review of Singleton 12? If so, be sure to let me know in the comments. I'm happy to do a similar type of reviews, which I'm doing on my shorts segment videos. I would want to do reviews in a quite subjective manner that I don't rely on tasting notes and sophisticated point scoring systems. So let me know if that's your thing, if you want to see more of these type of reviews. And thanks for watching. Let's have a drink. Cheers. Outro, I guess.